The exploding number of wild boars in the prairies has been a concern for decades. A leading researcher says we've already missed the window to eradicate the pests and warns these hogs are a real risk.
Imagine waking up one morning to see your fields ruined, your crops destroyed, and your water pipes bent and broken. For farmers in Canada, this scary scene is becoming normal because wild boars keep coming onto their land.
Wild boars were first imported from Europe by farmers in the 1980s, but it's since 2010 that researchers have seen exponential growth in their habitat.
They are the worst invasive large mammal on the planet.
Normal hunting, fences, and small traps have not worked to stop these smart, strong animals, leaving farmers feeling helpless and overwhelmed. But now, something new has come up. It is clever, it is daring, and it is changing everything. Could this finally stop the wild boar problem in Canada? Join us in this video as we discuss the details. The Canadian farmer's genius way to stop hundreds of wild boars. Across many parts of the world, a quiet but destructive invasion has been unfolding for years. Wild boars, also known as wild pigs, have spread far beyond their original habitats and settled into places where they do not belong. These animals are strong, adaptable, and extremely persistent. Once they arrive in an area, they rarely leave. Instead, they multiply, spread outward, and slowly take over the land around them. In Brazil, this problem has become especially serious. Wild boars were first brought into the country several decades ago for farming and hunting. At the time, they were seen as useful animals and even as a possible source of income. However, many of them escaped captivity. Others were released intentionally. Once free, they mixed with local pigs and quickly formed large, fast-breeding populations. From that moment on, control was lost. Today, wild boars can be found across nearly every natural region of Brazil. They live in forests, grasslands, wetlands, farmland, and even dry areas where survival seems difficult. Wherever they go, they leave damage behind. Their bodies are heavy, their snouts are strong, and their behavior is destructive. They dig constantly, turning over soil in search of roots, insects, and anything else they can eat. Fields that once held healthy crops are often left looking torn apart, uneven, and lifeless. For farmers, the damage is often sudden and devastating. A field that looked healthy one evening can be completely destroyed by morning. Crops such as corn, soy, and sugarcane are especially vulnerable. Entire harvests can be wiped out in just a few nights. For small farmers, this can mean the loss of their only source of income. For larger farms, the losses can reach enormous financial levels. Beyond farmland, wild boars also cause deep harm to nature itself. They uproot plants, destroy young trees, disturb animal nests, and damage water sources. Forest floors are churned up, making it difficult for native plants to grow back. Seeds that should help forests recover are eaten or destroyed. Over time, this weakens entire ecosystems and makes them less able to survive other pressures such as climate change and deforestation. Wild boars also affect the climate. Their constant digging releases carbon stored in the soil into the air. Over large areas, this adds up to millions of tons of carbon dioxide being released. This makes global warming worse and adds another hidden cost to their presence. Many solutions have been tried to stop wild boars. Electric fences were installed around fields. Traps were set in areas where boars were active. Hunters were brought in. Scents, noises, and repellents were used to scare them away. However, most of these methods failed over time. The animals learned quickly. They avoided danger changed their habits, and returned once the threat was gone. In the middle of this growing crisis, one simple but bold idea emerged from a farmer in southern Brazil. Faced with repeated destruction of his crops, the farmer decided to try something different. Instead of relying on technology or temporary deterrence, he reshaped the land itself. Around his field, he dug a deep ditch. The trench was several feet deep and wide enough to prevent wild boars from jumping across. The soil removed from the ditch was piled inward, forming a steep slope. The idea was simple. A boar trying to enter the field would either fall into the ditch or turn away. Climbing out on the field side would be nearly impossible. The solution worked. Wild boars approached the field, reached the ditch, and stopped. Some fell in and retreated. Others turned around immediately. The crops inside the ditch remained largely untouched. Losses dropped dramatically. In some seasons, the farmer saved nearly all of his harvest. Word spread quickly. Other farmers visited, observed the ditch, and began building similar barriers around their own land. Over time, this method spread across many farming regions. In some areas, wire mesh was added to strengthen the slopes. Although the method required effort and planning, it offered something rare: long-term protection without constant monitoring. However, this solution was not perfect. Digging ditches required money, labor, and sometimes heavy machinery. In rainy seasons, water collects in the trenches, creating breeding grounds for mosquitoes and raising health concerns. Soil erosion became an issue in certain areas. Maintenance was necessary to prevent the ditches from filling in over time. Even with these drawbacks, the ditch became a symbol of resilience. It showed that simple, well-thought-out solutions could sometimes succeed where advanced methods failed. Still, it was clear that this alone could not solve the wider problem. If simple barriers and hard physical work can slow the destruction, then what happens when the threat is not strength or numbers, but intelligence, learning, and the ability to adapt faster than humans can respond? Let's delve deeper. Intelligence, disease, and the fight to regain control. One of the most dangerous traits of wild boars is not their strength or numbers, but their intelligence. These animals are among the smartest mammals in the wild. They learn quickly, remember past experiences, and adjust their behavior based on what works and what does not. This makes them extremely difficult to manage. Wild boars live in social groups, often made up of related individuals. This means that knowledge spreads quickly within the group. If one boar learns to avoid a trap or recognizes danger, the others soon follow. Older boars, especially, become nearly impossible to catch. Over time, entire groups learn how to survive human efforts to remove them. Their intelligence also allows them to adapt to new environments. Wild boars can survive in extreme heat, cold winters, dry seasons, and flooded areas. They find food almost anywhere. When conditions change, they change with them. This adaptability has allowed them to spread across continents and settle in places once thought unsuitable. Reproduction adds another layer to the problem. Female wild boars give birth often and produce large litters. Young boars mature quickly and can reproduce within months. This rapid cycle means that populations grow faster than most control efforts can keep up with. Experts estimate that more than half of a population must be removed just to stop growth. Anything less allows numbers to rebound quickly. Health risks are another serious concern. Wild boars carry many diseases that affect animals and humans. These include illnesses that infect farm pigs, wildlife, and people. Some diseases spread through direct contact, while others are carried by ticks and insects that feed on the boars. Once established, these diseases are difficult to contain and can spread across regions. Livestock farms are especially at risk. Diseases carried by wild boars can lead to mass deaths of domestic animals, trade restrictions, and long-term economic damage. Wildlife is also affected. Native species that have no resistance to these diseases can suffer population declines, further weakening ecosystems already under pressure. Hunting has been widely used as a control method, but its effectiveness is limited. When hunting pressure increases, wild boars change their behavior. They become more active at night, avoid open areas, and retreat into dense vegetation. Missed attempts make them more cautious, not less. In many cases, hunting reduces visibility without reducing numbers. Traps face similar challenges. While young or inexperienced animals may enter them, older boars learn to stay away. Entire groups are rarely captured at once. As long as breeding females remain, populations continue to grow. Some regions have shown that success is possible with strong coordination. Large-scale efforts combining traps, night operations, and aerial control have reduced wild boar numbers in certain areas. These programs require long-term commitment, funding, and cooperation between authorities, landowners, and wildlife specialists. The fight against wild boars is not simple. There is no single solution that works everywhere. Barriers, removal efforts, and monitoring must be combined and maintained over time. Without constant pressure, populations recover quickly. Wild boars have proven themselves to be survivors. They exploit weaknesses, adapt to threats, and take advantage of human mistakes. The damage they cause is not only immediate, but long-lasting, affecting land, water, wildlife, health, and climate. The lesson is clear. This is not a short battle, and it cannot be won with half measures. Only consistent, coordinated action can slow their spread and protect what remains. Even then, success requires patience, resources, and the understanding that nature does not easily give back what has been lost. If ditches and trenches can stop the pigs temporarily, what happens when these clever animals find ways around them and the problem just keeps coming back? Let's learn more. Limits of barriers and the rise of smarter control methods. Deep trenches built around farmland have helped reduce crop damage in many areas, but they are far from a perfect answer. These trenches can stop wild boars from entering certain fields, yet they do nothing to remove the animals from the land nearby. When boars are blocked from crops, they do not disappear. Instead, they move closer to houses, barns, roads, and water sources. This shift creates new problems and new dangers for people, animals, and property. Farmers have also found that trenches cost a lot of money. Heavy machines are needed to dig them, fuel costs add up quickly, and workers must constantly check the soil. Rain, erosion, and collapsing sides can weaken trenches over time. Because of this, trenches work more like a temporary wall than a long-term solution. Farmers have also learned that removing only a few boars does not solve anything. Wild boars live in family groups called sounders. These groups move, feed, and learn together. If only part of a sounder is caught or taken out, the remaining animals quickly understand that danger is present. These survivors become smarter and more careful. They avoid traps, change feeding times, and teach younger boars to stay away. For this reason, farmers now focus on full sounder removal. The goal is simple but difficult. Remove every single animal in the group at the same time. This prevents learning, memory, and future avoidance. While this method takes more time and effort, it has proven far more effective than partial control. To make full group removal possible, farmers use a slow and careful process that focuses on trust. One of the most common tools is fermented bait, often called sour mash. This bait is usually made from corn mixed with sugar, yeast, and fruit gelatin. The smell is strong and attractive to boars. Farmers place this bait in open areas and leave it there for weeks without setting any traps. During this time, the boars feed freely and begin to feel safe. There is no threat, no noise, and no pressure. Trail cameras are placed nearby, so farmers can watch what happens without being seen. They study how many boars arrive, when they arrive, and whether the whole group feeds together. This waiting period is very important. Farmers do not rush. They wait until every member of the sounder is comfortable entering the feeding area. If even one boar stays away, the process continues. The goal is total trust. Only when all animals are feeding freely does the next step begin. This patience helps prevent mistakes that could ruin future control efforts. After trust is built, modern trapping systems are introduced. These traps are large circular enclosures made of strong panels. They are designed to hold entire groups at once. The gates are controlled remotely and connected to live video feeds. Farmers can watch the trap from their phones in real time. This allows them to see exactly when every boar is inside the enclosure. The gate is only dropped when the full group has entered. This method greatly reduces escape and prevents survivors. Even with careful planning, some boars still manage to adapt. A few animals refuse to enter traps no matter how long the bait is left out. These boars stay on the edges, watching from a distance. They are cautious, alert, and difficult to fool. These survivors become a serious long-term problem. When they breed, they pass this cautious behavior to their young. Over time, this creates populations that are harder to trap and harder to control. Each generation becomes smarter than the last. Human activity has also changed how wild boars behave. Because of hunting, trapping, and farm activity, boars have shifted their routines. They are now mostly active at night. During the day, they hide in thick cover and remain unseen. This change forces farmers and control teams to work in darkness. Daytime efforts often fail because the animals are simply not there. Night operations are harder, more dangerous, and more expensive, but they are now necessary. This shift shows just how quickly wild boars can adapt and how difficult long-term control has become. If high-tech traps can outwit super pigs in open fields, how do farmers cope when the solution seems simple, like digging trenches? But those very trenches bring new challenges and unexpected limitations. Let's find out. The hidden costs and human impact of defending against Java porcos. In southern Brazil, farmers began digging trenches to protect their crops from the destructive Java porco. These trenches worked very well to stop pigs from entering fields, but they also caused problems that farmers did not expect. Building and keeping the trenches cost a lot of money. Professional digging cost about $2 per foot. Even a small farm could spend $30,000 to $100,000 just to start. Larger farms needed even more digging, making costs rise quickly. But the money was only the first challenge. The weather made the trenches harder to manage. During the rainy season, trenches filled with mud and water, turning barriers into hazards. Standing water created mosquitoes and other health risks. Heavy rain sometimes made water flow into neighboring farms, causing flooding and soil erosion. Some farmers were even sued by neighbors for the damage caused. The type of soil also caused difficulties. Rocky soil needed heavy drilling equipment, which cost much more, while soft soil often required concrete to stop trenches from collapsing. Every trench system needed rare solutions, because every farm had plenty issues, which needed more time and money. People's safety was also put at danger by the trenches. It was risky to operate tractors and other farm tools close to trench margins, especially at night, or in fog. Tractors have fallen into holes in a number of incidents, hurting drivers and causing equipment damage. In one instance, a teenage kid and a tractor went into a ditch, breaking the boy's arm and destroying equipment valued at roughly $15,000. Emergency vehicles like ambulances or fire trucks had trouble reaching farms because of trenches, which delayed help during accidents. Delivery trucks and Romanian service vehicles sometimes refused to enter farms without proper bridges. Farmers had to build temporary bridges and warning signs. Even farm workers asked for extra pay to work safely near trenches. These measures made running the farm more complicated and expensive. Native wildlife also became a problem. Animals like deer, armadillos, and sometimes cattle fell into trenches meant for pigs. Seasonal floods and overgrown plants made trenches harder to manage, requiring constant cleaning and repairs. In some areas, trenches had to be completely dug again every 2 years to stay strong. Despite all of these problems, the trenches continued to prevent Java porcos from entering fields, showing that they were more effective than more costly fixes. The trenches changes farmers' views on farming in spite of these issues. They found how to carefully organize their farms, including not only crops, but also water flow, safety, and equipment protection. Farmers began cooperating, sharing expenses, and helping one another with trench upkeep. In order to receive notifications if pigs tried to move, they also kept an eye on other farms. Because of this cooperation, defenses were strengthened and linked throughout entire regions. The trenches were put into a larger system that defended several farms rather than simply one. The trenches were more than just holes in the ground. They showed how even very hard issues may be resolved with basic tools like a shovel and careful planning. Farmers were able to safeguard their families and crops despite taking risks, spending a lot of money, and putting in a lot of effort to keep the trenches secure. How did the lessons learned from Brazilian farmers' trench defenses compare to the challenges faced by American farmers dealing with wild pigs? And what strategies could possibly stop such relentless invaders? Let's take a closer look. The rise and spread of wild pigs in the United States. Wild pigs in the United States have a history that goes back hundreds of years. In 1539, the Spanish explorer Hernando Doto brought a group of farm pigs to Florida. These pigs were meant to be a food supply for his trip. However, some of the pigs escaped into the forests. Once free, the pigs learned to survive on their own. They found food, protected themselves, and had babies. These escaped pigs formed the first small populations of wild pigs in North America. For a long time, these pigs lived in small groups near wetlands and forests. They usually stayed hidden and only occasionally went into fields. At first, they did not cause major problems. But everything changed in the early 1990s when hunters and private landowners brought in large Eurasian wild boars from Europe and Asia. These animals were much bigger, stronger, and more aggressive than the earlier pigs. They were also built to survive in the wild. They could move through thick brush, dig for roots, and climb hills. When these European wild boars escaped or were released, they mixed with the existing wild pigs. The new hybrid animals combined the strengths of both types. They were stronger, smarter, and could live in almost any environment. These hybrids could swim across rivers, hide in thick brush, and eat nearly anything. This made them much harder to control than the original pigs. By 1982, there were about 2.44 million wild pigs in 18 U.S. states. Many people ignored the problem at first, but the population grew fast. By 2016, there were around 7 million wild pigs in 35 states. The speed of this growth surprised scientists. The pigs did not spread slowly. They multiplied quickly and moved into new areas every year. Some states, like Texas, became perfect places for wild pigs to live. The land offered thick forests, soft soil, hills, and open plains. There were no strong predators to control them. Coyotes sometimes ate piglets, but adult pigs were too tough for most animals. Humans also helped the pigs by building water tanks for cattle and planting crops like corn, wheat, peanuts, and soybeans. These animals provided food and water for the pigs year-round. Human actions sometimes made the problem worse. Hunters and landowners moved pigs to new areas for hunting or commercial purposes. Each time pigs were moved, a new group could breed and grow quickly. This caused wild pig populations to expand even faster. In conclusion, the escape of pigs in 1539, combined with the introduction of European wild boars in the 90s, created a species that spreads rapidly and adapts to many environments. The mix of hybrid strength, fast reproduction, and human influence has made wild pigs one of the most challenging invasive species in the United States. Their presence continues to cause serious problems for farmers, wildlife, and ecosystems across the country. As these wild boars continue to multiply and move into new areas, how quickly can their invasion get out of control? Keep watching to find out. Europe's wild boar problem and the threat of African swine fever. Across Europe, a problem has been quietly growing for many years. Wild boars, which were once mostly found in forests and rural areas, are now appearing everywhere. They are showing up not just in farms, but also in cities, neighborhoods, and along roads. Countries like Italy, Spain, Germany, Poland, and Hungary are all dealing with these animals. The problem is not small. In Italy, for example, wild boars have become so common that residents see them on streets, parks, and even near major buildings. Spain is facing a similar crisis, with the wild boar population doubling in about 20 years. Today, there are close to 2 million wild boars across Europe, and the numbers keep growing quickly. The effects of this invasion are serious. Farmers lose millions of dollars each year. In Italy alone, crop damage caused by wild boars is estimated to cost $22 million annually. These animals tear up fields, destroy plants, and ruin irrigation systems. But the damage is not just to crops. Wild boars also cause accidents. Thousands of car crashes happen every year because drivers hit these animals on the road. And sadly, many of these crashes are fatal. They do not just stop at farms and roads. In cities, wild boars have grown bold. Videos from Rome show mother boars calmly feeding their young right in the middle of busy streets. People are shocked because these animals do not seem afraid of humans anymore. Then came another, even more frightening problem. In early 2022, Italian authorities discovered that one wild boar had African swine fever, or ASF. This is a very dangerous virus that affects pigs and wild boars. It is not dangerous to humans. People cannot catch it by eating pork or touching animals. But for pigs, it is deadly. Almost all infected pigs die. There is no medicine, no vaccine, and no treatment. If ASF reaches a farm, all pigs must be destroyed immediately to prevent the virus from spreading. Italy's pork industry is huge, making about $8.8 billion every year and providing jobs for tens of thousands of people. If the virus spreads, it could ruin the entire industry. ASF spreads in many ways. Boars can pass the virus to each other directly, but it can also survive in dead boars for months. A single dead animal left in the forest can infect others that come into contact with it. This makes controlling the virus very hard. The connection between wild boars and domestic pigs is another problem. Both are the same species. Any virus that infects one can infect the other. Farms with outdoor pigs, small backyard holdings, or free-ranging pigs face constant risk. Across Europe, the virus has already spread from the Baltic countries to Germany, Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, and more. The situation has become urgent, and traditional methods, such as hunting, have failed to stop either the virus or the growing boar populations. Authorities realized they needed new ideas. They needed strategies that could work faster and smarter than before. Simply shooting or trapping a few animals would not work. The wild boar problem was large, complicated, and growing, and time was running out. People had to think carefully about how to protect both humans and farms from this growing threat. With their numbers rising and territory expanding so rapidly, what new strategies are being used to finally get these wild boars under control? Let's find out. New strategies and innovative solutions. European governments and wildlife experts have begun using new strategies to manage wild boar populations and protect against ASF. One of the most successful methods is a special trap called the pig brig. This idea originally came from the United States. Unlike old metal traps that could only catch one or two animals, these new traps are bigger, lighter, and can hold entire family groups. Wild boars live in family groups called sounders, which include mothers, piglets, and sometimes younger adults. These family groups are the main cause of damage, and capturing them all at once is much more effective than targeting just a few individuals. The pig brig works because it uses bait to lure the animals inside a circular net enclosure. The boars, curious but hungry, eventually enter, and the net closes around them. Even the largest adult boars cannot escape. This method targets reproductive females, which are responsible for producing many new piglets each year. Traditional hunting focused on large male boars, which hunters preferred because of their size and tusks. But removing males did not reduce population growth. Female boars kept reproducing, and the population continued to rise. Using traps to catch entire groups, including the females, helps slow population growth in a way hunting alone never could. In addition to traps, fencing has been used to control both the spread of ASF and the movement of wild boars. Germany built long stretches of both permanent and mobile fences around infected areas. These fences keep infected animals from entering new areas and prevent them from coming into contact with domestic pigs. In some zones, core areas with the highest infection levels were fenced completely within a 3-kilometer radius. Larger buffer zones extended 20 to 25 kilometers around these core areas. Inside these zones, authorities searched for dead animals, safely disposed of carcasses, and limited hunting to prevent spreading the virus. This required careful coordination between wildlife authorities, veterinary services, forestry departments, and local governments. Another innovative approach has been environmental modification. In Israel, a scientist studied why wild boars were entering cities. He discovered that boars were searching for places to wallow in mud and find food. To solve the problem, he created waiting pools in natural areas near the city. These pools gave the boars water, mud, and space for foraging. Camera traps showed that the boars used these areas instead of entering urban neighborhoods. By providing an attractive alternative, the boars stayed out of the city, reducing conflicts with humans. Cities in Europe are now experimenting with similar strategies. Rome has installed boar-proof garbage containers and protective nets around trash bins. Barcelona uses cage traps, drop nets, and nighttime hunting where safe. Spanish researchers advise municipalities to secure food sources and change vegetation patterns to make urban areas less attractive. In Berlin, wild boars have formed self-sustaining urban populations. These city boars are genetically distinct from rural boars and are comfortable living near humans. Traditional hunting is difficult or unsafe in these areas, so innovative strategies are necessary. Finally, fertility control is emerging as a long-term solution. In Italy, researchers developed a system called Boars, which delivers oral contraceptives to female boars through bait. Only wild boars can access this bait, preventing other animals from consuming it. By reducing the number of births, the population can slowly decline over time. This approach avoids killing animals and targets the main source of population growth: reproductive females. Through trapping, fencing, environmental modification, and fertility control, European countries are beginning to find ways to manage wild boars and reduce the risks of ASF. Each method works best when combined with others. It is clear that to deal with this invasive species, authorities must think creatively, act quickly, and coordinate across many sectors. What do you think about the destruction of wild boars? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us as we uncovered the shocking story of wild boars and the destruction they're causing. We hope you found this video both surprising and eye-opening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to learn more about the battles against these invasive animals. See you there.